What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first ever video podcast episode of Nati Sports Talk. I'm your host, Ryan Townsend. Thank you so much for joining me today as I look to recap the Bengals-Eagles game from this afternoon. But first, before we get going, I just want to send out a big thank you to all my followers and supporters right now. If you liked one of my tweets, shared one of my tweets, shouted me out, read my articles, liked my articles, I just want to say thank you so much. When I decided to start doing this, I didn't know how it was going to go, how long I was going to do it. But so far, the support's been great. I look forward every week to bringing you guys content on the Reds and Bengals. Looking forward to the Reds starting their playoff run this week on Wednesday. Looking forward to bringing you guys more content on both teams. But enough of that, man. I just want to say thank you guys, and let's get rolling here with the recap. So, Sunday, September 27th, 0-2 versus 0-2, Bengals-Eagles. Carson Wentz has been struggling, man. Leads the league in interceptions. After today, I think he probably still does. But Philly hasn't been able to figure it out on defense. Offensive line's kind of been banged up a little bit. Wide receivers are thin. Carson Wentz, like I said, has been struggling, trying to do too much. The Bengals, 0-2 so far, coming off, I thought 2 winnable games against the Chargers and Browns. Couldn't pull through. We're 0-2. Burrow's been taking some shots. Offensive line's been a key factor. Definitely was today. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I thought a winnable game for the Bengals. We've got the ball up 20-16. Joe Burrow's playing well. Offense playing well. Defense honestly looked good for a little bit today. I thought they showed some bright spots overall. We'll get to that later. But got the ball 20-16. I believe there's like 10 or 11 minutes on the clock. Joe Burrow orchestrates a time-consuming drive, which is what I needed. It's what we needed, man. It's what we needed. Burn some clock. Not get conservative, but burn some clock. Try and drive down and score. A touchdown, that is. Get down in the red zone. Can't convert. We end up kicking a field goal. 23-16. We give Wentz the ball back with 3:05. I'm like, all right, defense, here we go. We got to step up. If we step up, we're going to win the game. Pass interference on William Jackson III. Pass interference on Darius Phillips. Wentz and company start driving down the field after those big penalties from the 7-yard line. Wentz runs it in for a touchdown. It's 23-23. We're going to overtime. Bengals try to get something going on offense. Can't get anything going. Wentz and company try to get something on offense. Can't really get anything going until the Bengals punt. Close to midfield. Eagles end up running a couple plays, couple penalties. We get a stop. It's 4th down. Jake Elliott rolls out for a 59-yard field goal, and I'm just thinking to myself, man, we drafted this guy. Marvin Lewis drafted this guy in the 5th round a couple years back. Put him on the practice squad because he didn't get the job. The Philadelphia Eagles pick him up. He wins the Super Bowl in that same year. Drafted by the Bengals, practice squad, Super Bowl. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, he booted a 61-yarder last year. Booted a 61-yarder. And I'm like, it's 59. I think he's going to do it. He's going to send us home. Former draft pick of ours is going to send us home. I'm just thinking, awesome. Going to start 0-3. Starting to think to myself about the Jags next week. Lamar coming up. Just thinking of where this team's going. Possibilities of how bad we could be. And then our defensive line makes a shift. Their left guard false starts. 59 turns into 64. And Doug Peterson elects to punt. 14 or 15 seconds left in the game. Doug Peterson elects to punt. We get the ball at the 10-yard line. Hand off to Mixon. That's the game. We didn't win. We didn't lose. We tied. I mean, definitely a winnable game for the Bengals. And I was a little at a loss for words, just in the sense that I'm thinking to myself, when are they going to get over the hump? Zach Taylor, as head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, in one-possession games, is 0-10-1. 0-10-1 in one-possession games. And I'm just thinking, when are we going to get over the hump? I thought we could have done it today. Thought we had the chances. We had the chances to get over the hump today and get some momentum rolling in next week when Jacksonville comes to town. And we just couldn't do it. I mean, we just couldn't do it. I thought offense, besides the three factors today on offense, I thought we looked good. I mean, Joe Burrow threw the ball 44 times today, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, pass rating of 105.5. I mean, just think about that for a second. You're a rookie quarterback in the last 2 games. Cleveland, he threw the ball 61 times. Today, he threw the ball 44 times. Over 100 attempts. And he hasn't thrown an interception. Over 100 attempts in the last 2 games, and Joe Burrow's not throwing an interception. I just think that's phenomenal. I mean, Zach Taylor is putting all his trust in him right now, trusting him to make his reads, go through his progressions, and get the ball where it needs to be. And so far, man, I've been impressed with Joe Burrow. I mean, he's making connections with every receiver. Boy, today, 10 receptions, 125 yards off 13 targets. AJ had 6 targets today. Hauled in 5 of them for 36 yards. T. Higgins, welcome to it, my man. 5 receptions, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns for the rookie today. I thought he looked really good. Definitely moved up in the depth chart today with John Ross being inactive. Auden Tate, speaking of inactives, was inactive last week against Cleveland. This week, 2 catches, 29 yards, 4 targets. Now, I will say, I found it pretty interesting today that when Auden Tate was in, Joe Burrow was looking for him. I mean, his 2 receptions for 29 yards, they were good. They were good receptions. One of them was an out-of-bounds one, and one of them, I think, was a slant or a post, something like that towards the sideline. But, I mean, 2 times in the goal line today, goal line situations, or red zone situations, I'd say, red zone. He's taking shots to him in the end zone. Just throwing the ball up to Auden Tate, see if he can go make a play. That, to me, right there shows trust. I heard during training camp, him and Auden Tate developed a pretty good connection. I mean, that gets me kind of excited a little bit because I know the big plays that Auden Tate can make, and I know the capability of Joe Burrow at quarterback. And so far, man, he's spreading the wealth. He's trusting guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tyler Boyd, 10 receptions. That's one of his go-to guys. He, along with Tate, developed a good relationship. But, I mean, when AJ's getting covered like that, he's not afraid to throw it to Boyd, Higgins, Tate, Mike Thomas. Going to be one of those guys, too. Drew Sample didn't get a lot of touches today. But, I mean, he's looking good so far. I mean, I've been impressed with Joe Burrow. He's definitely the guy for us. I'm looking forward to seeing how he still develops, honestly. Because, I mean, they really haven't hit the big plays yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, they had a couple nice completions today. A couple, 18, 21-yard completions today in that range. Getting good completions. But, I mean, Joe Burrow can still develop. He can still take this game to the next level. I'm looking forward to seeing that next level from him. But I'll tell you what, man, there's 3 things right now that are really killing us on offense. Number 1 is Joe Mixon. Not Joe Mixon himself. Joe Mixon is a great ball player. Joe Mixon is an elusive guy out of the backfield, and there's a reason we signed him to a 4-year, $48 million extension. But when we're only giving him 49 rushing yards a game, he's only getting 49 rushing yards a game. We can't get a run game going, and we don't use him on all 3 downs. That's hurting the offense. I mean, Joe Mixon is an elusive player, like I said. He can be a 3-down back for us. To me, in the last 2 years with Zach Taylor at the helm, it has looked like first down, maybe Mixon, maybe not. Second down, Mixon. Third down, he's on the sideline. Bring in Gio. I mean, Joe Mixon can be that guy on all 3 downs. You don't have to take him out. There's a reason you signed an extension. Don't get me wrong, though. I like Bernard. I like what Bernard brings to the table for us. But when Mixon is one of your key players on offense that you have to get going to have a balanced attack, you've got to try and keep him on the field for as many plays as possible. And I just think that's hurting the Bengals right now, not getting him going. Week 1, he had a pretty good running attack, but he wasn't involved in the passing game. Week 2, he was involved quite a bit in the passing game. 2.9 yards a carry against Cleveland. Today, 2.9 yards a carry against the Eagles. And only 2 receptions for 16 yards on 3 targets. If Joe Mixon can get going in this offense is going to be really, really good. It's getting there right now with Burrow. Burrow's showing us what it can be. Him and the wideouts showing us what it can be. But Joe Mixon and the running game have got to get going for us to have a more balanced attack throughout the year. Second thing is conversions. Bengals today were 3 of 13 on third down, and they were 2 for 4 in the red zone. You would like them to be 4 for 4 in the red zone. Zach, earlier in this week in his press conference, talked about we got to capitalize on drives. Can't be settling for field goals. Got to go for touchdowns. 2 for 4, 50%. You know, if you're talking like Zach Taylor was in his press conference, you'd like to see him go 4 for 4. Because if we're going 4 for 4 in the red zone today, we win the game. 100% we win the game. If we can convert in that red zone with 3:05 left, instead of settling a field goal and get a touchdown, game's over. Game's over. And we're not talking about a tie. We're talking about a 1-2 team head next week coming home against Jacksonville. But we're not. Now, the next thing that's crucial, along with conversions, is third down. 3 of 13 on third down. We got to find a way to keep the drives going on third down. That's one of the big keys in football. If you're a football player and you learn football, that's one of the big keys in football. On offense, if you can stay on the field after third down, or defense, if you can get a stop at third down, get off the field. Or offense, stay on the field. When you're going 3 for 13 on third down, it's kind of hard to get something going. Joe Burrow talked about late in the game, he was sort of starting to get into his rhythm, with Boyd and Higgins, really starting to, air the ball out, and he's really getting into his rhythm. And that right there is what we got to start doing on third down. We got to start getting into more of a rhythm of even converting on third down, or not even putting ourselves in those situations. Starting to take some shots earlier. Trying to get the run game going. Like I just said, that can help third down conversions. But when we're 3 of 13 on third down, that doesn't help our case on offense. And probably the biggest thing on offense, the offensive line. I mean, what is Zach Taylor, Duke Tobin, and Mike Brown telling their franchise quarterback right now? What are they telling him? 8 sacks. Your offensive line let Joe Burrow get sacked 8 times. Not even counting the quarterback hits he took today. One of them was a shot, by the way. I thought Burrow was down, and my heart sank a little bit, but he said he got the wind knocked out of him for a couple seconds. He was good and ready to go. But, man, 8 sacks. I mean, you're telling your quarterback, hey, you have to get hit this amount of times in a game. We can't protect you. That's the message you're sending to Burrow. And if you want to protect your future franchise quarterback, you have got to get an offensive line. I mean, let's just take a look at it. Jonah Williams, last year in the draft, drafted him 11th overall. Pro Football Focus had him as, I think, the 4th or 5th overall player in the draft. We got him at 11. It's pretty good. He had a good career at Alabama. Had shoulder surgery last year. Obviously didn't play. This is basically his rookie year. He's looked okay. Michael Jordan, last year, had a rough year. He started picking up at the end of the year, but at the beginning of the year, he had a rough year, being a rookie. Put on 25, 30 pounds. He's looking pretty good. Still has some mishaps here and there. Trey Hopkins signed an extension last year. One of the leaders, I think, on the offensive line, and just a leader in general for the team. I think he's good at center. But it's the right side, too, that really gets me, man. The right side. I mean, we go get Xavier Su'a-Filo from the Cowboys, a reserve guard from the Cowboys. Gets hurt week 1. Didn't think he had a bad week 1 from what I saw. Didn't think he had a bad week 1, but he's hurt. We go to Fred Johnson in a short week. Absolutely abysmal at Cleveland. So bad. But honestly, though, Fred Johnson, let's take a minute to talk about Fred Johnson for a second. He was one of those guys last year when we got him off of waivers from the Steelers. I was like, man, this guy's huge, like 6'7", 6'8", 320, 325. I was searching on Twitter and looking. I was like, who is this guy? Like, is he going to be good for us? Like, can we use him? And I remember, forget the Steelers beat writer it was, but I saw a Steelers beat writer on Twitter. And he basically said in his tweet, Mike Tomlin was not happy that someone picked him up, because they were looking forward to picking him back up and put him on the practice squad once he cleared waivers, and he thought the Bengals got a steal. Being that tall, tackle, I was like, oh, this guy can replace Bobby Hart. Well, that hasn't been the case this year either, because Bobby Hart is still a revolving door right there at right tackle. I mean, it gets to the question is, when is it time to move on? When is it time to go out and get a right tackle, or go out and get a sufficient right guard? When's the time to go do that? Because don't get me wrong, I like T. Higgins, our second-round draft pick. I like Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson had the interception today. He's had some bright spots. I like Akeem Davis-Gaither so far. I like those guys, you know. But the third, second, and fourth round, it's the time to go get the good available offensive lineman. I mean, Josh Jones from Houston, I'm not sure how he's doing this year. I know he was a pretty high-rated guy. Ended up falling to the Cardinals. He was still available round 3. Maybe there was something that teams thought that I didn't know. But, you know, one of those guys, or like plenty of guys in the second round that could help this team. Now, don't get me wrong. I haven't seen Hakeem Adeniji yet, so I haven't seen how he's going to perform. I haven't seen practice. And, you know, I haven't really got to see a lot of Suafilo. But, I mean, something has got to be better than Fred Johnson / Billy Price at right guard for the time being, and Bobby Hart at right tackle. I mean, actually, that's one of the key things that I thought kind of hurt the Bengals' offensive line in the second half. So, like I talked about with Fred Johnson, being one of those guys coming into the year that I thought could be a guy for us. A lot of people were giving him crap because he did play bad against Cleveland. He played terrible. But Zach said, hey, we're running him out again at right guard. And everyone's like, why are you doing that? He played bad. Like, don't you want to go to Billy Price? And he was like, well, he had a short week. You know, it's mainly walkthrough stuff, preparing for Thursday. So we're going to give him a full week of practice and see how he did. So today, in the first half, I took it upon myself to, you know, scout here Fred Johnson. Broke it down into pass plays, run plays, gave him a rating 1 through 5. 0 if he absolutely whiffed. 6 was a great block plus a pancake. But by no means, don't get me wrong, by no means am I an NFL scout, analyst. You know, I watched film when I played football in high school, but I just wanted to fully focus on Fred Johnson today and see what he was about. And so, out of 9 run plays that he was in the first half, from a 1 to 5 scale, he averaged a grade of 2.2 for me. Had a false start penalty that cost him a little bit. The passing game, out of 22 snaps, he was a 2.68 average in the passing game, and overall was a 2.4 in the total blocking today. Remember one play, Gio's screen today, he had an absolute whiff, that if he ends up hitting that block, Gio could probably scamper for 10 to 12 more yards right there. But remember, that was one of the big plays, absolute whiff. But I'm not going to lie to you, even with that 2.44 total blocking grade that I gave him, he honestly, in solely watching him, he honestly kind of impressed me today. He's going up against Fletcher Cox, who I personally think is the second best interior defensive lineman behind, obviously, Aaron Donald. And I gave him a couple 4s in the pass protection. And most of those 4s, the comments was a great block on Fletcher Cox, standing him up, not letting him get pressure on him. You know, he had a couple 4s in the run game too. Did really well on switching with Bobby Hart today, you know, with switching guys coming in on different stunts. But, you know, from the game, I don't think he's the right guy. But from watching Billy Price in the second half, he is definitely the guy over Billy Price. Billy Price looked bad in the second half. I noticed that was the first thing, is I was like, Billy Price is in. Did they think Johnson played that bad? I mean, just from a couple of plays that I saw, he was doing okay. Not like outstanding or like, yo, you got to keep him in. But like, he was doing well for himself, you know, handling a couple guys. I mean, Billy Price just letting people come in today too. Whiffing on guys, holding. I mean, there's got to be an answer on the right side for the offensive line. Right guard, right tackle. There's got to be an answer. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know when they're going to go out and get someone, when they're going to finally draft someone. Maybe Akeem Adeniji gets a shot just to see what he has. I mean, they have to find an answer sooner rather than later. Because if Joe Burrow keeps taking hit after hit after hit, it's not going to be long before he's not playing. I mean, there's going to be times where he's going to get banged up, he's going to get roughed up, and he's going to be pretty damn sore coming into the week 10, week 11, towards the end of the season. Like, the Bengals somehow are going to have to find a way to get something going with the offensive line. But hopefully, man, like I was saying, hopefully sooner rather than later they can figure out something. Hopefully Jim Turner can figure out a different scheme they can do, get stuff going on the offensive side. But turn it over to defense. Honestly, after the Browns game, I thought they played okay. I thought they played pretty well to start the game. I mean, 2 interceptions, Logan Wilson and LaShawn Sims today. 7 pass deflections, a forced fumble, 3 sacks, 2 from Lawson, 1 from Hubbard. First off, Carl Lawson, great game, my man. Great game today from you. 2 sacks, a forced fumble, 8 tackles. Next leading guy was Carlos Dunlap at 9. I mean, Lawson played great today. Saw a lot of bright spots from him. Really showed what he was doing as a rookie, coming in with 8.5 sacks that year. You know, staying healthy right now. I mean, he's got a lot of potential there, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he continues to grow here in these next couple games. But Dunlap, 9 tackles. Mackenzie Alexander, Von Bell, 8. Bynes and Bates had 7. Sam Hubbard with 4. Wilson had 5 today, looking good. Jermaine Pratt today at linebacker. I thought he played really well. Both in the run game and in the passing game. I thought his coverage was pretty good. Just for the few clips that I saw during today's game. But the big thing on the defense was we gave up a couple big plays today, and we still have to find an answer on the ground game. 175 yards on the ground. Not as much as last week. So, I mean, it's kind of a positive. But 175 yards on the ground. We've got to find a way. Even with Geno Atkins out, you have to find a way to get that down. Because some of these teams, like, dude, Lamar Jackson in week 5, I don't even want to think about Lamar Jackson in week 5. James Conner for the Steelers, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. Derrick Henry, I mean, dude, if we don't figure out the running game soon, it's gonna be a long year. The run defense, it's gonna be a long year. Because right now, that's the backbone of the defense. I really think the secondary is playing well. And the linebackers dropping into coverage. I really think the pass defense is playing well. Coming in the game, we were 7th overall in passing defense in the NFL. I mean, we're playing well. Carson Wentz today only threw for 225 yards, 2 interceptions. He had a forced fumble, But the pass defense is doing really well. The run defense is where it's getting me. When Geno Atkins gets back, Lou Anarumo and everyone has got to figure out a way to get it going. I mean, you have to figure out a way. You have to be able to stop the run if you want to win ball games in the NFL. Because right now we're not doing that. Week 1 against the Chargers, they're an average offense. Tyrod Taylor is an okay quarterback. Week 2, you have the two-headed monster of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, who, oh, by the way, we see them again, I believe, in Week 7. So that should be fun. Giving up over 200 yards on the ground. And then today, another 175 from Miles Sanders and Carson Wentz. Like, we have got to figure it out. And honestly, next week doesn't come at an easier time. Because the running back that Jacksonville has, yes, Leonard Fournette's gone, gave him away, released him. But that James Robinson, I believe Robinson's his name, he's been doing pretty well for them. He's been getting touches, and he's been running hard for him. And I think they have Chris Thompson in that backfield too, another pass catcher, used to be in Washington. But, I mean, the sooner we figure out the run defense, the better. Once Geno gets back, I think it's going to be settled a little bit. But until then, I mean, we got to figure out something. I mean, Bynes and Pratt at linebacker with Wilson and Gaithers, they're playing okay. Week 2, they didn't play the greatest. Week 3, they played well today. But got to find a way to limit the run defense, limit the guys running at us. I mean, I think that's going to clear up the defense a little bit. It's going to give us a little bit more chance on offense, playing with a little bit of a lead. But so far, man, defense isn't doing so bad that everyone thinks. It's really just a run defense. I mean, we're looking good so far, but we'll see what we can do from that. Looking forward to next week. Jacksonville comes to town. They're 1-2. Beat the Colts week 1. Close loss to the Titans week 2, who are now 3-0 today. And they got pretty much manhandled by Miami, it looked like, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Thursday Night Football, lost 31-13. Minshew didn't look the greatest. Jacksonville was a game last year I thought we had in the bag. But Andy Dalton, I think, threw back-to-back pick sixes. So I'm looking forward to this week. It's another winnable game. Somehow hoping the Bengals can get over the hump a little bit. But other than that, we'll see where it goes from there. Hopefully the Bengals figure out something. Hopefully Joe Burrow's icing right now, his entire body. Hope he's taking in a lot of protein. Hopefully he's ready to go for Sunday. I hope the offensive line's ready to block for him. So that'll do it for me today. Be on the lookout. Reds start the playoffs this week on Wednesday. Article or 2 coming out. Maybe a video. Looking to put a recap out here of the Bengals game. Possibly again with another article. If not, we'll preview next week the Bengals-Jags. But thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate the time. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.